So I used to sit in the bath as a kid,
Mm.
like I do now, and something hit me. It was like a form of solipsism, which was, hold on a second. I am only aware of my conscious experience at this moment. No one else is aware of my conscious experience of this moment. I'm not aware of the conscious experiences of my loved ones and my friends in this moment. And that just gave me a profound sense of loneliness. Profound. As if everyone else wasn't real. Because real was to experience. Real was to feel what they feel in some kind of weird, bizarre sense in a conscious way. And that just, for some reason, I can't rationalize it, just gave me a huge sense of loneliness in a way. Or that everything else was somewhat meaningless, because I'm seeing it through everything is through my own perspective. Now, if you think about that, that's actually quite lonely, right? I mean, if you think about it, because you don't have everybody else's perspectives. I'm not feeling what you're feeling. And that's why maybe I love talking about the hard problem of consciousness, because there's a child traumatic experience, or whatever you want to call it. It's not traumatic, but it hit me. I used to cry, I think. I used to feel lonely. And I think that drove me to have a sense of meaning. Because meaning for me is powerful. If you could give me all the houses in the world, bro, if there's no meaning behind it, I'm sorry, it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't. Like, I'm not saying I'm pious. It's not. It's just the way I was constructed from my experience. I may enjoy it for 5 minutes, but then I'm like, this is meaningless. This is bakwas.
In my journey, for whatever it is, it's not something amazing in terms of being able to share as a story. But my most beautiful moments have been when I was alone. In terms of sadness, I waited for something for a long period of time. And I allowed myself to be able to discard all choices. And when I finally got that thing, it disappointed me.
SubhanAllah.
And like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "Da'fu talib wal matlub," everyone is weak. The one you're asking, the one who's asking, they're all weak. I realized from that very moment, and that what that person said to me, that God will give you something better in return. And I just did not get something better in return. I got God as a return. And I realized this journey that what I want cannot be filled by what I wanted from this world. And the best thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me in that journey was being able to be alone. I left my car, I used to just go out alone. I used to stay awake, be able to read those books. And I realized how essential that pain was for me to be able to have that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because my entire youth, when I was in school, when I was in college, it was all about being around noise. And I clearly remember I think it was 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. I was in the middle of a very top-notch party. And I was sitting in one corner. I did not realize why this entire environment was just suffocating for me. And I started crying right in the corner. I was crying in the corner. I was like, Allah, forgive me and forgive them, for they do not know. And I don't know how we're wasting our youth. And the one thing that loneliness allowed me is to be able to just get up from my university cafeteria environment, and my female friends were asking me what. And that's the point I'm coming to, because people, when they just become all depressive because of the fact that they're too alone, that is the time when they have to be able to build their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I used to just go in that quiet musalla, which was not even a masjid, and I just used to be able to run towards it, be able to read the translation of the Quran. I did not, I was like seriously weak in Urdu. Because I come from a Zoroastrian school.
Okay.
We were focused on being able to speak in English, not that even like it's a second language, but I had to be able to read the Quran in the Urdu language. And I would just not remember everything, whatever I was reading, but after 1 hour I would go outside and it's like I would have a complete different sense or lens around me. And I started seeing who my friends were. And Allah allowed those friends to get filtered all away from me, and Allah gave me something more pure. They're still my brothers. So I realized being alone, how important everything has to be connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I got the most, you know, retaliation from family. I got, you know, friends, family members, but everything seemed worthless. So, you know, in this journey, having that pain to realize, or how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you that pain, to be able to realize that nothing is worth it except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give you and what is going to be attached with Him. And I think this, you never forget this.
Of course.
You never forget this.
These are spiritual windows of opportunity. So even in trauma, so if you have a traumatic experience, whether it's a divorce or whether it's a relationship or whether it's health, whatever it can be, traumatic experiences, if you frame them properly, can be spiritual experiences. And what's very interesting is that, you know, and we say this to people, stand in the possibility that the meaning you're giving this pain or trauma is not the only meaning. And what we usually say to people is, stand in the possibility that the correct meaning you're giving this trauma is the meaning that Allah and His Messenger wants you to give. This is like cognitive spiritual reframing, and you see this in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to the Prophet sallam. The Prophet sallam, his son passed away, and then Allah reveals Surah Al-Kawthar. That is a complete cognitive reframing, because it talks about, hey, we've given you the abundance. Khalas. So now express gratitude. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْهَرْ, right? Well, you have Surah Duha, you have even the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks to Musa alayhi salam, talking about his past. We did this, we did that, we inspired this. To get you to cognitively and spiritually reframe your trauma, your experiences, in the way that Allah wants you to see them. And this is very interesting. There is a book by Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor. It's called Man's Ultimate Search for Meaning. He actually, I think, almost thanks the Nazis. He says, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have meaning. I wouldn't have, you know, this sense of purpose. And he made a very beautiful point saying that you can transcend your suffering if you give the right meaning to your suffering, something like that. So when people have these experiences, they're the spiritual windows of opportunity, and if you give it the right meaning at that time, something happens. And that's why when we say to people who, even, you know, if they're Muslim but they've moved away from Islam, we say, look, you've had these experiences, they're negative, we're empathizing, we're not saying that, oh, you didn't have them, we're not dismissing that. What we're saying is stand in the possibility that the meaning you're giving it right now is not the only meaning. If you could, I'm not even saying adopt it, just stand in the possibility. Once you stand in the possibility and you even entertain the argument or the fact that the meaning that Allah wants you to give it is the right meaning, that's when something changes sometimes. So yeah, I mean, how did you deal with people who gave you a backlash? That's interesting. Like when you were going through your journey, and did the same friends remain with you, or did they move away from you?
My friend circle was mostly from the musicians background. Some of them still are part of the Coke Studio, you know, organizing committee. And of course, Allah filters that friendship. But now those friends who are maybe the top-notch DJ in a club in Dubai, they do contact me. Like, although we're taking all sorts of drugs, we drink alcohol every day, but we appreciate the kind of work that you're doing. And those friends who were actually mocking you, maybe, you know, making fun of you, I think their mocking and me knowing for a fact that they do not enjoy my company made me realize that my heart was now thirsty for something else. And that element, that gap, I cut myself off. Like you see in Surah Al-Kahf, wow, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave those youngsters the cave. My cave was being able to get myself attached in books and being alone. If my family was giving me a hard time, I stayed consistent with it. I know for a fact that my masjid right in front of my house was just like, you know, right in front of the gate. And there was an entire opposition from my family because they feared for the fact that maybe I just going to leave this whole education and everything, and maybe I'm brain or something. But I stayed consistent, although it was hurtful, it was a challenge. But I think I told myself that maybe Allah wants me to understand that if I can get opposition from family, maybe when I share this with people outside, I'd be more stronger in terms of taking their opposition. Because like somebody said that maybe you take care of other people because there is a part in you, inside you, which wanted someone to take care of you, and you didn't get that. And that's the very reason why it allows you to be able to get in the field of dawah. Because when you wanted, because I did not have books, we didn't have books, we didn't have YouTube channels, we didn't have, back in the day of 2002, 2003,
Yes, of course,
right?
yes.
My family wouldn't give me the car. I would actually go to the Institute of Dr. Star Ahmed and be able to, take a bus, read a book halfway there, come like 1 hour thing, and those buses are not in good condition. So I would do that. I would just walk all the way there, and my time was being alone and being able to be on that journey. And all of a sudden, when the time was right, all of a sudden I remember I was sitting in the cafeteria again, because my people, my non-Muslim friends would be like, no, he started keeping a beard. Now all of a sudden he's going to be talking about religion, because that's what I was thirsty about. And they would be talking about drugs. I won't be talking about that. I would see it as an opportunity to talk about religion, because now sharing that happiness was what was important for me.